Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday, April 29, 2021. Mr. Perry here with a rundown of what we're doing today in class. First and foremost, make sure that you do your bell ringer. That's the thing you should be doing every day. So make sure that you do that. And today we're doing a little activity which you should be able to do at home just fine without needing any extra pictures or whatnot to go along with it. So let's go ahead and look at what you are doing today for your activity. Go ahead and go to Schoology and go to the Thursday folder. Pull up the assignment. Do that here. Assignment's up. All right, so here's what you're going to be doing today. You're going to be doing a little bit of what we call random sampling. And what random sampling is, it's one of the techniques that ecologists use to get a number of the population of whatever the species is that's in the area. Because it's very hard to keep track of wild animals and count them individually and whatnot, because they move and they go in and out and they're all over the place. So it's very hard to keep track of wild animals. So we use different techniques to get an estimate of how many things live in that area. And today you're going to be doing that with our random sampling activity. And you're going to be randomly sampling some sunflowers that grow in a field. So there's a little background information for you. You need to read through the background information, and then you're going to give a hypothesis of how many sunflowers you think are in this field and why. And our sunflower field is on slide number 5 here. Each one of those little circles represents a sunflower. You're going to give an estimate of how many sunflowers you think there are there and your reasoning why. Then you're going to get into a procedure here, and we divided the procedure up into multiple parts. So in part 1 of the procedure, you're going to do some random sampling. How you're going to do that is you need to make, basically you need 2 cups, and you need to make one of the cups have the letters A through J in it, and in the other cup you need to have the letters 1 through 10. And you can do that at home. You probably have cups, at least 2 cups you'll need for this, and you'll just need little pieces of paper, and you'll write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Throw them in one cup, and in the other one you'll put A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and put them in the other cup. What you're then going to do is you're going to randomly take one of the numbers and one of the letters out of the cup, and that is going to correspond to one of the sections that is on this map. So let's say you drew out B7 as your first combination. You're going to go over here to the left side where it says B, and then over to where it says 7, and this is the square that you're going to count the number of sunflowers in. You're going to put that on this table here. So you put B7, and then you count up the number of sunflowers. There's 3 sunflowers in there, and you put down 3. You're going to do that until you've done it 10 times. If you ever get any duplicates, just redo it. After every time you draw the number and letter combination, throw those numbers and letters back into the cups and give them a little shake, give them a little toss there to it. So you could have multiple B's, and you can have multiple things that are 7, but you should not have another B7 anywhere on there. Because if you were a scientist doing it, you would know that you had surveyed the same area twice, so you wouldn't do that. You would pick a different area to look at for it. So that's what you're going to do for the data table. At the end, you're going to total up your number of sunflowers from your 10 areas that you've surveyed. And that's part 1. When you get to part 2, here's where we're going to do our random sampling stuff. What you're going to do is that you're going to take your total number of sunflower plants that you just got in your previous part, and we're going to use that total to do a little bit of math to try to figure out how many are in the entire field. The first thing we need to do is find the average of our sunflowers, how many sunflowers per square there are. How you do that, you take your total from before, and you're going to divide that number by 10. So let's say we ended up with 27 sunflowers that we surveyed in the random sampling stuff, we take 27 and divide it by 10. Whatever that number is, you put it here in the blue section where it says average per square. Now, to get the random sampling of the entire field now, which is our formal estimation, we take the average number and multiply it by how many squares we have in the entire field. There are 100 squares on this picture, so you're going to take your average, which is your blue number, and multiply it by 100. It's going to give you something in usually in the high 100s, or low 200s, typically depending on what your number is for it. So a little bit of math there to get our random sampling, but that will give you your estimation according to random sampling. We are then going to compare that number by actually counting all of the sunflowers. So you're going to go to this page here, back to our meadow, and you're going to count up all the circles that are on the chart here. My suggestion of how to make this easier is to count it either row by row or column by column and then add them up at the end. If you try to count them all up at the same time, that's going to get confusing because there's lots of circles there. If you miscount, all of a sudden you're thrown off. I would go either row by row or column by column and then add them all up. But you're going to put your actual number of sunflowers in the field by actually counting them in that spot. And then we've got our analysis section, or question section. The first couple of questions ask about the specific activity itself. The second set of questions talks about this idea of dispersion or distribution of how animals and plants can arrange themselves in an area and which one would benefit random sampling more or less. So you'll have to use those pictures along with my explanations of what dispersion is to answer those questions. And then the last part, you're going to use this information to do this activity again, but this time you're doing it under a very specific situation. We have a lazy ecologist here that only sampled one row, and he only sampled row J because that was the closest to the street. And when he parked his car, he didn't want to have to go into the actual meadow itself, so he just surveyed the first 10 things that he ended up seeing there. So I already have the left side where your grid segments are filled out. You're going to be doing all the J's, 1 through 10. You're going to have to go to back to the meadow to see the numbers of sunflowers that are in J. And then you're going to have to get the total number of sunflowers, get the average, and get the estimated total, just like you did previously, but this time using the lazy ecologist method. And then you're going to compare that result to what the actual results and see if his method was any better than the method that we ended up using, and answering a couple of questions with that. So that is what you're doing. So yeah, if you have any questions about that, do not hesitate to email and ask. Like I said, the only thing that you need is really some paper and something to put the paper in to draw out your random numbers and letters out of it. Or you can go online and probably find a random number generator and a number letter generator. A random letter generator there for it. You could use that too. As long as it's random, that's what we want. So that's our activity for today. When you get it done, you can turn it in. Hope you're doing well, staying safe out there, and I hope to see you back here sooner rather than later. And if you have any questions, email me, and I'll see you later. Bye.